And we're here to talk with Sean again because Sean's mother, Sandra L. Bell, has entered the fray as well. So now we've got the whole family here that are writing books. There's your book. Sandra, hi, how are you?
Hi, Lee. Thanks very much for having me on the show.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Congratulations. This is a really high quality piece of work you've got here. This is great.
It's been very exciting, Lee, and it's been a long journey, but a great journey, a really exciting one.
So, have you always been interested in writing, or did you kind of get the bug from Sean?
Well, years ago, and I'm talking when Sean was probably about 4, I originally wrote a children's picture book, 16-page book.
Okay.
And in those days, nobody would take a chance on an unknown author, even though I sent it out to many different places. So that kind of got put into the back shelf of a drawer.
Right.
Until 20 years later, when Sean graduated from media arts, and he found the book and he said, Mom, you should do something with this.
Okay.
So from there, I looked at doing a kid's screenplay, again, not thinking an unknown doesn't have a chance of getting a screenplay done. So we decided to turn it into a book. So this has really been a journey of evolving from 16-page picture book to a screenplay back to a children's book. So it's been interesting.
Jeremy's Treasure Hunt. So this is an overnight success that's been 20 years in the making.
Well, we'll have to see how the success part goes, but I've had fun with it.
One of the things that I was struck by was the quality of not just the materials, which are very high quality, but the entire thing, from the print to the back and the credits and it's just crazy good. And what I wanted to talk to you about, and I know Sean's with you there as well, and you guys can go back and forth if you want, but this so-called self-publishing thing, we went into that a little bit with Sean. Now, you actually partnered with, as it says here in the back, Feulled Press, right?
Correct.
Walk us through that. Walk us through your experience with that, because you actually don't print it yourself, you don't bind it yourself, but you become a client of theirs, or they become a client of yours, I guess. How does that work?
Yeah. Well, I looked at a pure self-publishing route where I would go through Amazon, and then you find your own editors, you find your own, it's a real do-it-yourself. And Lee, the whole project was daunting. So I started to look for self-publishing and wanted to hopefully keep it Canadian if I could.
Right.
And I found Feulled Press out in Victoria, BC.
Okay.
So with the self-publishing route, the big thing is they don't have to accept you. If you choose the package that you want for X number of dollars, and they will self-publish it. So I chose probably the top end package because I wanted to have constructive criticism and a good editor, and I wanted good feedback for the work that I'd done. So the package that we chose included editing, and it also included a section at the end on marketing. Now, my thinking, I'd write the book, I'd work with the editor, which was a much lengthier and more exhaustive process than I thought. But I figured at that point, my work was done. I didn't realize that you're probably 1/3 of the way through, because 2/3 is the marketing, right, which I've been fortunate enough to have Sean look after for me. So the self-publishing route is a good way to go because They look after the copyright. They look after the printing. They look after the editing. Um, I had my own artist, but they incorporated her digital images into the book. So everything was
Right.
done professionally. I never could have put something like this out on my own.
But it's still pretty work intensive for you. I mean, you've got to be pretty close to it every step of the way, correct?
It was much more work than I anticipated. I figured once I'd finished the book, I'd hand it over and that would be it. But we probably had 3 rounds of editing. So I'll give you an example. You
Yeah.
hand your book over, you think you've done your work.
Right.
The very, very first look at my book, they came back to me and said, "You've written this in present tense. You've got to go back and change the whole book into past tense."
Oh my
So
word!
just to give you an idea, and I
Why-
thought, oh my goodness.
Why would they? Why didn't they want it in present tense?
And I don't know if this is part of the author's society. I'm not sure why, but
Okay.
when I did some Googling, definitely it was confirmed that you should be writing in the past tense. Apparently, they say that it gives your readers more latitude for imagination.
Ah, okay.
If you're writing in the present tense, you're kind of telling them, this is what we're doing, this is what you should be thinking. Whereas it's the past tense, it just gives your readers a much broader range to envision how they'd like to see the book.
I would think, though, that now that I'm thinking about this, because I love reading, but is at the end of the day, it would probably give you as an author a little bit more flexibility too, would it not? Or not so much? It just would seem to me
I
that
didn't find it so much.
I just thought you'd be able to maybe make more references to historical things or whatever, something like that. I don't know. It just seems interesting.
You're correct. In the description,
Right.
when you're able to leave the present tense, then you can add more flavor, more color
Yeah.
to the book instead of just directing a person down a certain path. But that was a big one, Lee.
That is a big one. Like they said, you've got to do this. It's not like
Absolutely.
we suggested. It said you got to do this, and
They said you've got to do it.
and they don't do it for you.
Well, no, that part, no. And I figured, and I'm open to constructive criticism, and I did a little bit of homework and I realized that they were right.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, apparently one of the few books that have been done in present tense and was successful was Game of Thrones. But now I've been watching, most books that you look at are definitely written in the past tense. So
Very interesting.
and I figured, I'm paying them this money for their expertise. I should listen to them. They're the experts in this.
So this is obviously a children's book.
Yes.
A book turned screenplay back to book. And who are the target ages for this book, Sandra?
That's a great question, Lee, because it was something that I talked to my editor about at length, because the age group would be 8 to 12, because you get some 8-year-olds that are more advanced and you get,
Sure.
different reading levels
Sure.
in that age group.
Yeah.
But what my editor said to me, and he wanted me to leave the book as it was, he thought it was good. He called my book a hybrid, because it
Okay.
is for 8 to 12-year-olds, but the text might be a little bit longer than what you'd normally put out, in that a book for that age group.
Mm-hmm.
So he called it a hybrid and said to me that there are many types of books out there. It's not so rigid today when you're writing that you have to fit into these certain molds.
Yeah, understood. So, is the book available only online, or do you have it in stores in Niagara, or where do we find Jeremy's Treasure Hunt?
Well, Sean encouraged me through the marketing that he did to, have a good local presence. So
Right.
we used Forget Me Not, which is in the north end of St. Catharines. And the book is available through the Friesen Press online bookstore as well as Amazon.
Okay.
And I think, Sean, right now you said we just got into chapters. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes. Jeremy's Treasure Hunt is available in chapters and Cole as well in St. Catharines.
Awesome.
So it's out there on multiple platforms right now.
That's terrific. And what's the price point on the book?
Go ahead, Mom.
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead, anybody.
Retail price is $29.99.
Okay.
That's for the hardcover book.
Yeah.
And the online prices are obviously much cheaper through either Friesen Press or Amazon is probably the best price point, Sean, right? Would you say?
Yes,
Sean's
definitely.
pricing for me.
Yeah, it seems Amazon, the online forums are where people are going to look for books today.
Okay.
There's a very particular audience out there that looks for a hardcover or softcover books.
Right.
You know, people that are still into having books on a bookshelf, right, Lee? There are a lot of people right now that are looking to buy the book through e-form. So Amazon is the big hub right now because everyone's on Amazon. So that seems to be the one right now where a lot of people are congregating to look for new books that are available.
That's good because I narrate books, or as part of my home business. So that's good.
Oh.
Anyway, this is like I said, Sandra. This is just an absolute treasure, actually.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you, Lee.
Illustrations by Nastasia, and I have no idea how to say her last name.
Go ahead, Sean. It's Merchant.
Nastasia Merchant.
Nastasia Merchant.
Merchant,
Right.
Yes.
All right. It's spelled much more complicated than it's pronounced.
Yeah.
And the illustrations are really good. Kevin put some of them on the screen earlier for the folks to have a look at, and the illustrations are awesome as well. So anyway, congratulations. We wish you well with it. And I know you've invested your own dollars in it, and I think when we were talking to Sean the last time, the premier package, if you will, that you bought is something around $10,000. Is that right? In that neighborhood?
Yes, if you include the book insurance and the purchase of the books, it would be around 10,000 Canadian.
All right. Sean, thank you for showing up here as well. I want to be able to get an update on how your trilogy is going. Now, the trilogy that you're writing is the Grandfather Chronicles. Book 1 is out there. Is book 2 finished yet?
Hi, Lee. So nice to see you again, and thanks so much, Kev, for making this possible. Having my mom and I on the show, it's a big moment.
It's great.
Over the years, my mom and I always kind of sat around and had coffee and kind of pictured what this moment might be like when we both have our books become a reality. So this is an exciting moment to see to share this interview with my mom is
great.
Something I'll never forget. So I can't thank you both for that. Yeah. So with respect to the Grandfather Chronicles, the one thing I have to add to people who are watching is my wonderful mother. The book itself is based on my mom's side of the family. So my mom's father is actually the grandfather who inspired me to write the Grandfather Chronicles.
Cool.
So
great.
It's a pretty amazing feat to have to
That's
be able
awesome.
to write about such loving experiences I had, and to publish with my mom is something incredible. So it's just makes this moment that much more special. But yeah, so book 1 is available right now. Book 1 is doing well. It's out there now. I'm engaging with a lot of different people on a daily basis with respect to emails and people interacting with me on the social media platforms, and it's just been a wonderful experience. So book 1 is available, very much like my mom. My first book is also available in Forget-Me-Not in St. Catharines, so it's available there.
Okay.
It's also available in Chapters and Coles as well, and available worldwide where all major online books are sold. So it is out there worldwide, which I say that word and it's hard to believe when I say that, but to answer your question about book 2, and I'll say it here first, book 2 is about halfway done right now. So I'm writing book 2
Cool.
In my spare time right now, and I am working towards having it out soon, but I want to make sure it's done properly. Book 2 is my favorite book of the series, and I want to make sure that book 2 is something that will just leave people just in awe. So that's why I'm working very hard on that.
And you are publishing the remainder of the trilogy through Friesen Press as well, correct?
Yes, that's the plan, Lee, to go through Friesen. Just like you mentioned and said very well, that the books just look so professional. The end product that Friesen Press produces is, as we've talked about off camera, Lee, is in comparison with how professional books look in the stores, put out by the big five, right, the traditional publishers. So yes, I like the idea of going with Friesen Press because I really think, and my mom and I have spoken about this, have your manuscript as close to proofed as you possibly can before you approach Friesen.
Right.
Have it in the best possible shape so that when you go into Friesen, you're ready to go in with the best possible version of the edit you have. They may have suggestions like my poor mom was saying, switching her entire book to past tense.
Right.
I mean, that was a massive endeavor for her because it just took. It's just like I said, you're on a timeline with Friesen, right? Like they want you to produce it they'll give you a window,
right,
and they want you to stick to that window. But it's a fine line to make sure you're not rushing each step and to make sure that you are doing the very best at each process, right? But that's important, and that's my plan, is to go the rest of the way with Friesen and get that trilogy out there because I'm dying to dive into book 2 and 3.
Now, we're going to have to go soon, but I did want to talk about one more thing of this process for people that might be thinking about this, and I'm sure there are many. And that figure off the top is going to probably scare some people. Like, whoa, $10,000 to work with these people to publish my book. It's a process. Tell us how the process works, that you sort of can recoup some of that or make it worthwhile down the road. It's not as daunting perhaps as it seems. Am I getting it right?
Do you want to go ahead, Mum, or do you want me to kind of weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think when Sean and I sat down and talked about this, Lee, we looked at it as starting our own business. So compared to buying a franchise or doing something else, to me, the investment of $10,000 was much less. Perhaps the risk was higher, but $10,000, fortunately, was a doable number.
Okay, got it.
We decided to go ahead with it. The cost, if Sean and I do earn some money from this down the road, then some of the publishing expenses can be offset against that. But that's down the road.
Right. Now, Sean, you've got 3 books planned.
Yes.
You don't have to spend $10,000 per book, right?
Yeah, it's a great question, Lee. We discussed that a bit off air this morning. That's right. So $10,000 would be the absolute max you would spend with Friesen Press. That would get you the legendary bundle edit, which is the highest editing bundle they offer.
Okay.
It would get you all the marketing modules with David Chilton, who's a world-renowned marketing expert. He's worked with a number of different entrepreneurs and authors, so you get access to hundreds and hundreds of hours of his modules. You also get access to Friesen Press's website tutorials. So they have people who will work with you through the promotions process. So for someone like myself who was very green when it came to marketing, they provided a lot of tutorials and coaching hours to help you put a marketing plan in place. Well, with book 1 out of the way now for both my mom and myself, book 2, you don't have to spend on the marketing modules. Because as long as you're with Friesen Press, you always have access to that. So you paid for that the first time.
Okay.
So that's about $1,500 knocked off. We're not going to be paying for the website services because both my mom and I have websites going now. We've done that already. So that's another $1,500 knocked off. So I think the thing to consider here is that if you're going to produce multiple books, you might have to spend a little bit more out of the gate. But once you're going into your second or third or fourth book, it's essentially just choosing what kind of editing and publishing service you want. How many edits do you want? So the big thing I've learned is that try and get it edited to a point that it's in the best possible state when you submit it to Friesen. So you can save a little bit more on editing. Yeah. But long story short, you're going to save a lot of money if you produce more books through Friesen.
And what? Pardon?
So the only thing, Lee, I would add, if I've got time, is the marketing part. When Sean was talking about the wonderful marketing resources that they do give you, are excellent, but you need time to go through that. Because I was working when I did my book, my thought process was I would write the book, and that was it. Unrealizing the amount of time that would have to go into marketing and
Sure.
specifically social media marketing. So I think anybody who's contemplating doing something like this, yes, getting the book out is time consuming. You have to have the time to put into the marketing. It's enormous.
Good point. Bells. Sandra L, Sean R, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck with Jeremy's treasure hunt, and also Sean. We look forward to book 2 of the Grandfather Chronicles. I guess before Christmas, you said it might be coming out. So
That's the plan.
Okay. Well, we'll let you get back at it. Again, congrats. Thanks for joining us on the program. It's. I think it's probably answered a lot of people's questions that might be wanting to do what you've done. So appreciate the information too.
Lee and Kevin, thank you very much.
You are welcome.
My pleasure.
Thanks on behalf of Kevin for the book. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay.